Take almost all of our money to outfit them, but you know, then we can do some pirate stuff here. 142. That's probably more than enough to attack anything in the sea, in this little inland sea here next to Diathma. And I think this should be fun. So we'll just wipe out that previous 10 minutes. You guys don't really give a shit watching us gather some villagers from over here. We had 2 small naval battles, but again, it's the little 60 merchant ships. I don't think that's really going to be entertaining. Let's start an episode right here. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode, Tactical Enlightenment's YouTube channel, dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. And we are in the Hagar the Horrible campaign. We just lost a huge shipboard battle last episode, but we're not that concerned about it. It's only been maybe a week and a half since that battle. We've used all our money here to load up Hagar the Horrible with some new ships. This is a first for me. All of our ships went away. In the past, when I lost a battle like this, you would retain your ships, but we did have enough money to load up our ships again here at Diathma. They've got some nice upgrades. They've got a decent mix of troops, although of course we've just been acquiring troops from raiding villages. We had a couple quests come back, so we do have a few higher level troops, but we've got a whole lot of woodsmen and younglings and recruits. So I figure this is kind of the perfect breeding grounds here to do some pirates work here. We're at war with virtually everybody, and I think just to make it salty here, after we set up our ships here at Diathma, we'll just go raid their shit as well. We'll just be completely belligerent with everybody, sink a couple of their fishing skiffs, and that should do the trick to make to make them angry at us as well. We can firmly roleplay here as Hagar the Horrible. I think in the comic strip he's kind of a clunking dumbass barbarian, and we want to be sort of a slightly stupid barbarian, right? We're still going to be tactically smart, strategically smart when we you know, for most encounters. But just like the last episode, you would never slam yourself into that Nord force unless you're on YouTube, right? Or you just wanted the challenge. So we ultimately weren't successful, but I think it was a great expose, so to speak, exposition of this new system. And these peasants here, we can pay you, got fish. Watch this one here. Don't bother pleading for your lives, Adam lads. It's just a fisherman there with the receding hairline, and we're gonna barrel in here and kill him. Now, if we had the RTS mod, I might fight the battle on the water. Our troops roar with approval as we massacre Empire peasants here. And we take their barrels of fish. He offered us 2 barrels of fish after we chucked the carcasses of their dead fishermen's bodies off their ships. We found there were 5 barrels of fish. Why would you only offer us 2 if we could just take 5, right? You should have said, here's everything, right? Please don't kill us. They were holding out on us, and so we taught them a good lesson here. And now we're belligerent with everybody. Just the Northern Empire, the Britannians, the Nords. Fuck you, Sturgia, the dirt, eat shit, right? We're just going around middle finger up. We're literally on the mast of our ship with our middle fingers. We're tied to the mast with middle fingers out. Now, we want to have good movement speed here, so it says we have too many horses, too much shit, basically. I guess we could dump some of our extra sheep and cows into the ocean here. I'm not drunk, friends. We're just going to have fun in today's episode. In fact, I'm caffeinated. And we're going to seek smaller scale battles for this episode. A lot of things that happens in a campaign is by the time you can afford a boat, your character already has an army that's strong enough to crush everything on the water. So there's multiple little things that make ocean battles in war sales kind of difficult to find, right? We've talked about how it's difficult to find armies of 400 or 500. That'll probably continue to be the case, although we're going to test it out, right? We're hostile with all of the ports in this little inland sea here. And that's good, right? That means there's going to be lots of forces here to fight us. Conceivably, they'll fight together against us. And this is where you'd like to see, you know, the reinforcement system. Whoever made that mod get together with Tailworlds and say, you should try this and see what the players think. Because I think most players would love it. And that's like the 3rd time they have sieged Revolt and they keep backing off. It's kind of interesting behavior there too. Yeah, so guys like this, and don't worry, we're not going to fight 34 Sea Raiders and show you the footage from that where it's just like 60 here, same thing, right? Don't bother pleading for your lives. You can also do the "you are my prisoners," and what's nice about that option is you get a whole bunch of prisoners, right? This guy gets angry at us. We lose relations with their Gallon the Carpenter, some fuck. And these are actually shit units here. The Imperials have shitty mariners. Not the Nautes, not their troop line, but their convoys have shitty troops. Compare them to like the Sturgian. I don't know. It's not the. It's the veteran ones here, right? The Nord veteran convoy guard. These guys are really good units. They don't have great stats, but they're good stats. They have good equipment. And look at that shit. What are they? 130 throwing skill, right? 150 athleticism. These guys they're kind of the poor man's wildlings. Of course, they only have one stack of javelins usually, but they're good javelins. They're nice units, right? These to me are all-purpose solid units on the battlefield, in the water, in Bannerlord, and of course they're mariners, right? So they fight better at sea. All right, couple of enemy forces down the drain here. We can go raid some villages. We might even siege here just to kick the hornet's nest completely. Just picture kicking it over and over again, like that scene in Casino with the "go get my shine box." We're gonna kick until our obliques are sore here. It'd be nice to have one friendly port to take some of our booty to, because I think eventually we'll have weight problems. But there's a little choke point here. We're gonna be able to sink a lot of. Our ships are moving fast because we got big ships. Don't bother pleading for your lives. Adam lads. just a total barbarian. And for some reason, maybe it's just because I'm a human being, it's a lot of fun to just annihilate little merchants that are just trying to go about their life. and the chat window is hilarious. They're like, wait a minute, you can have everything we have here. Just take it all. Just don't attack us. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm stupid for laughing at it. I think it's hilarious. Don't bother pleading for your lives. They're like, no, you can have everything, just don't kill us. And you're like, we're here to kill you. Like, we're specifically here to kill you. We don't even care about your goods. We got lots of money. We're just here to kill you. We're going to cause some mayhem in this. And we'll monitor the analytics after this episode and see what people think about bad guy tactical enlightenment. I remain of the belief that this is a great way to play Bannerlord, not just because it's fun. As we get more quests back, our force is kind of getting too big. But it's also, this is a great way to get your violent, bad tendencies out, right? I was saying a couple 3 episodes ago, right? Try to be a good person. Try to be upfront with your girlfriend. Hey, I'm just interested in the... Say it like that. You say, I'm not interested in a long-term thing. Right? That's the honesty I think that people deserve. And, be a good person outside of Bannerlord. Call your mom. Get your dad a Father's Day card. Whatever, stuff like that. And then in Bannerlord, it's sack and mangle and raid and burn down cities. The devastate. Your troops sweep through the city, setting everything on fire and taking whatever else they want, right? You just cause mass carnage. And 166, just like that. This is, I've echoed it a few times, I think, in this campaign, other campaigns. This is why I like to do lots of quests. I don't want to have all of my companions out there. I mean, this guy, he's an Avenger. I think that's what that is. It's been... Yeah, well, maybe we'll execute some wall here. I think we'll fight this one here. He's got a small enough force. Oh, there's another change that I want to show you fellas. I don't know if we have a single naval battle filmed yet for this campaign. So let's at least cover a few, because there are some changes and they're really good changes. First, there's a lot more UI things. You can actually have someone else control the ship. I'm not going to do that, but there's options to do that, right? So if you just want to be a sailor on your ship, your right is granted. You could still command the other ships too. You just don't have to command your own ship, right? So if you want to sit at the front on the ballista and throw javelins as you go by other ships, you have that right. And Another one is the distance here. Look how close these boats are, right? They're right there. And it makes sense, right? Basically, the distance you are from the enemy scales depending on the size of their force. And nice shot, dude. The guy on the ballista hit him at 500 meters here. Set their shit on fire. Gave us a nice signal to follow. They've done a lot of improvements when it comes to everything from boarding to UI to the fluidity, natural fluidity of battles. They've made it easier for the battles to end. They've a number of different bug fixes. The boats still come out of the water probably unrealistically far, and I've still seen some guys swimming where they're like way, floating way out of the waves. So some of the physics still are far from perfected, but a lot of good improvements to naval battles, and that's a couple big ones there, right? You can fight on your own. You don't have to be in the boat. And number two, the distance, right? Before every battle, you were 1,200 units away from the enemy. It makes for very trudgingly, gruelingly slow battles, especially against sea raiders, right? You're sitting there waiting 2 minutes while your dudes row because you're 1.5 miles away. It's kind of anticlimactic. So we're gonna mount the fire catapult and just light these Sturgians on fire, and this will be short and sweet. The flaming effect. We're going to get some perks that allows us to burn sails better in this campaign, because we're going to do, I don't want to say from here on out, but we're going to try to find as much naval combat as we can the rest of this campaign. And the war sails after all. I think that's it, right? The battle should be over. They have 2 guys. Now we'll see how long this takes, although it sounds like they're actually still fighting still. They're designed just like those naval battles to end sooner, right? So that's another nice effect. It looks like there's one guy up there screaming and yelling as guys hack him down, and that should be it. Victory. Now this is still a problem. The AI just throw themselves at you, right? That guy came roaring up, probably because we raided that village, and the AI is programmed to try to stop you from raiding villages. Well, it shouldn't just throw their lives away, right? They should all sort of menacingly circle us until they have 6 ships and then sail in for the kill. Unfortunately, the AI still does a very poor job of sort of isolating and destroying the player. I mean, this is basically free candy here. They get a bunch of gold, and we were broke at one point when we bought our ships, and just like that, we're rich. It's kind of the nature of it. It's actually kind of hard to handicap yourself in Bannerlord if you have an idea what you're doing with the mediocre AI. So we'll see. Maybe we can get 400, 500, 600 though. There's going to be more Sturgians, in fact. And what you dread here is they all suicide. See, that's proper behavior, right? She should just follow me and wait until they have 500. Then they should all come in for the kill. Here we go. Maybe they're listening. All right, there should be 3 more ships should come in, and they should surround me and kill me. And say they shouldn't engage here.
You over there.
I mean, the power bar is almost equal, but they're not going to win this, right? They're going to get obliterated. It says they have 7 boats. That's kind of interesting. That means they must have a bunch of skiffs. Of course, we're still restricted to our 3. My companion is coming. Make sure we're on the hardest difficulty. We've got a companion. We had, I don't know if you guys remember, but I assigned him as a watchdog way long ago in this campaign up by Valvik, and we've been able to call him to us. It's kind of a nice way to get some reinforcements here. So here's another good example. 500 meters away from a smaller force. It's almost 700 meters distance here from a larger force. I think this scaling is really good. You basically have a lot more time to set up against, less ships. And the power bar actually looks dead on here, so we better not fumble our way to a loss here. Now try to get that guy on the flank, but these big boats in the short distance, it's really hard to ram shit. It's hard to gain the speed necessary, and it seems like almost every naval battle, the wind is in our face, right? You can see our flags are blowing straight to the back of the boat, straight to the aft, the stern, all you naval nerds out there. We got a calamity over there as our captains kill each other. That's a thing, though, right? Ships would definitely crash. It's still a thing for naval ships to hit each other. And guys will get injured and killed. There was a Coast Guard ship down in Louisiana that got hit by a tanker in the fog. And very, very bad luck for the Coast Guard ship. It was a sizable Coast Guard ship, too. I think it was a buoy tender with like 150, maybe it had 100 people on or 80 people on. Like the anchor, the big giant anchor from the ship that crashed into him, came loose and then got stuck in the fucking Coast Guard ship, I think, or dragged on the Coast Guard ship, and they drowned him. They fucking pulled that Coast Guard ship underwater, and they, like half the ship drowned. Yeah, look how far out of the water they came off that wave. And there's a little bit of realism. You get a little bit of error and shit like that on a ship, but maybe not quite that much. All right, we got a couple ramming targets here. And we've got a little bit of wind. Put our Savage Ram into action here. But mostly the firepower, right? It's just a lethal thing. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but there are more boats, and they gave ballistas to the Nords, I think. I can't remember how they did it. You guys are probably aware of it, but if you're not aware of it, the Nord ships don't have ballistas. And so now they do, right? They basically made specific ships for the Nords that have ballistas. And there's a lot of Sturgians here. I guess we better be careful what we ask for. I would like another level. And Hagar the Horrible gets even stronger. And this guy, man, he is a menace of the ocean. All the ships, all the crews just got drenched by a huge wave. There's a dude trying to use his sling, just gets put on his face. Lethal character build. And our army's not great, but it's solid, of course. In each one of these battles, we're getting nothing but upgrades. We got carnage all around us here, but there's a huge amount of troops on this boat. Now what's happening here? Oh shit, all of a sudden, did I do that? I don't know if I did that or not. We got disconnected somehow. All of a sudden there's troops drowning and shit. It's chaos. Have some of the flames, boys. The fires should burn longer too. As a fireman, I'll tell you, unless the water, the boat was getting actively splashed with waves. Fires on a ship would rage, right? A lot of this wood would have things on it for waterproofing. Whether that was back then, maybe they would use whale oil or something like that. Creosote. They would use agents that were often hydrocarbon, right? To make them a little more waterproof, a little more water resistant. And that shit burns, right? That shit catches fire, and you got an inferno very quickly. Of course, it's 80 to 90% wood. Then the sails would catch fire. You'd like to see the fires be a little bit more, but now we're starting to really nitpick, right? It's already a complicated game. I guess you can't ask for perfect realism. And what's going to stop this character? I don't think a bunch of warriors and trucks, that's for sure. Out of my way, kick that guy to death. The javelin gunners got the rest. And is that it? God, that's it. See, we burned one boat, so you can burn the sails completely down, so it just turns into a burning hulk. You're still getting the water 10 feet over your head. And we turned another boat into just a grave boat here, full of dead enemies. And we get rinsed all their nasty blood off of our armor. And not getting crushed. So see, we need 500 troops here. We need 500 or 600, I guess. Otherwise, we're just going to conquer everything. Let's keep rolling on, right? Eventually, maybe we'll run into just that. And I've got some ideas on how to make that happen. What's this shit? One guy got away? He's reconsidering his next move. Well, you better row there, dude. Row on one side and then race over to the other side of the boat and try to row. You're going to get captured, or what you're going to get. Now, we're accumulating ships. In my experience in the past, if you have a lot of ships, it slows you down. But not yet. I don't know if that's because we have enough troops somehow. I thought once you got to 8, 10, 12 ships, you start to crawl around. Right? Because they're dragging behind you. Get a bunch of sea raiders. And man, our force, you almost can't prevent it, right? Unless you just start losing battles. It's not like we have 330 medicine skill. Our character just... collecting victory after victory and upgrades after upgrades. We're going to have a menacing force here by the end of this episode at this rate. So, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Yeah, we got a couple mod makers that are part of our Discord that are working essentially on difficulty mods for Bannerlord. And it's one of those things where it's really hard to bite my tongue because we got guys who are They're working furiously on mods for, you know, say 1.35, the previous version of Bannerlord, and I'm aware that the update is coming. With in some cases, there were changes that these modders were trying to make, and I'm not allowed to tell these guys, hey, there's an update coming. Don't waste your time with that. So I'm in a little bit of a conundrum here. And yes, please, everybody attack and kill all of these Sturgians. We're gonna kill their whole empire here before we even have a real battle. And it's another. Oh, that third boat didn't even get in. Well, I think we ought to resolve this kind of battle. Probably take some huge losses here. So it is a little bit of a conundrum for me, but there's no choice, right? If I just spread the word, hey, there's a new patch coming, you know, it'll lose our privilege. We don't get access to these betas anymore. And of course, as a content producer, it's valuable for me to be able to play these things for a week before you guys get them, so that I can both help Tailworlds find bugs, right? There's a bunch of us helping them find bugs, but also so that you guys know whether or not you should jump back from whatever game you're playing or whatever, spend more time playing Bannerlord because they've made it highly enjoyable again. I think that's the case for a lot of people. If there's some people move from a game, and if there's no update for a while, they just move away. They go to something else, right? So it has some value. Of course, we're just providing content too, right? It's like a TV channel. When I was young, you could turn on the actual TV, change the channel, and whatever channel you changed it to, something would be on, even if it was a stupid ass fucking show, or, you know, cooking with some old lady or something like that. There'd be at least something on the TV, cartoons. And on some level, you know, I'm hoping that's what our channel can be. We're still trying to produce 5-6 episodes a week. Obviously, that's not sustainable. But while I'm enjoying it, and before my wife starts traveling heavily, it makes sense. And we just hit that flag, and it's burning immediately. That's good, right? I don't know if that was just a direct hit or what, but we just burned that dude's flag, his sail, to the ground. I always say flags. They look like a flag. And we got another boat. Oh shit! I just melted a bunch of our own troops. They must have boarded. Take a little bit more careful shots here. We got lots of Sturgian blue to melt. Of course, our unit, our guy here, Hagar the Horrible, was a Sturgian, right? So we're blue too. It's kind of difficult to tell. You gotta look for the yellow, I guess. It was you. Now we can board this shit. There's another little. Oh shit! Seems like every episode I send a guy back flipping over into the water. Well, that guy's probably saying something about my command here. Shouldn't have attacked that big armada. You got us all captured. What a dipshit commander. We're desperate here. We're not about to tolerate diverse opinions. Across we go here, and this is so far the best Mariner character I've ever had. And I don't know why that is. It doesn't, on paper look like the best character, but he kills everything. He either kicks him to death, kicks him off the ramparts, and of course he breaks out his weapon. It's just the right mix of perks and whatever. The javelin skill certainly helps. Anybody shielded, glug glug glug, just gets insta-killed. And it's just Ragdoll City here. Everybody he targets gets killed. That guy gets ragdolled. And another naval battle here in the books. And in retrospect, it seems like we need to have more battles against 1500. What we want is battles against 700. Again, that's the point I'm trying to make. We need those intermediate battles, right? As we rack up the figureheads, rack up the troop EXP, rack up everything here. We need that next level of difficulty for a lot of players. And unfortunately, sometimes you get good at tactics, and there's not a high enough difficulty for it. On some level, I'm aware that that's a negative. Some guys are like, you fucked Bannerlord over for me, man. I can't even play vanilla anymore if I don't have mods. It's too easy. Yeah, we all wish there was another difficulty level instead of just making artificial scenarios, but there you go. There you have it. I guess we've done our job too well on the channel. Of course, you know, some of it's just we have too much gameplay. Why is this so easy after thousands of hours of playing it? Well, because they need to make sure it's playable for someone with 10 hours, right? Therein lies the rub. All right, let's siege. Let's cause even more. If we siege, theoretically they'll make an army, right? The Sturgians will make an army of 700, and that'll be perfect. We still have Ostracan with 480. I don't think we're gonna get back there, even if that gets besieged like right now, and we're heading back that direction. I still don't think we can make it back there. Sorry. But you can, you know, you can be reduced to no troops, no units, no money, no anything, and be in prison and still turn it around and turn to a juggernaut. The nature of just building things up step by step causes a little bit more hate and discontent in this campaign. Bannerlord is definitely a game where you go from being just, you know, a ragged vagabond in the wilderness, and you turn into a world-destroying machine. And this should definitely get some attention here. There's 400 defenders. We're getting quests back. We don't have a huge army, but it's definitely big enough to siege. 374. Let's pick up some villagers here, and hopefully that pulls some attention, both from the Sturgia, maybe the Nords as well, right? Get another ocean battle. Kind of anxious to have revenge here, right? But we don't need 1,600, right? We need 600. So one of the ways you can do that, honestly, is to have a smaller force. You control, on some level, what the enemy sends against you. And we talked about it before. If you really want a reasonable force to fight in Bannerlord, one of the best ways to do it is to have a bait castle. Say you have 400 or 500 troops, and you're in this stage, or maybe you're a vassal early in a campaign. If you have a castle that is extremely heavily defended, take some of the troops from it, especially, of course, if you control it. Either put them into your army, or then put them into another city, get some influence for that. And you'll notice the AI doesn't bring 1,700 for your castle of 350. All right, Ostracan is a good example. And their raiding, the raid is a precursor to siege. I will go ahead and say, let's see, winter 21. I will say spring 2, Ostracan is sieged. It's almost like they show their hand. The AI comes in, they start raiding villages, and you can almost be sure that they're going to siege Ostracan because it's programmed. They basically start to raid so that it cuts off the food supply. In theory, they can starve the city out easier. So we'll see. Here's a good example. Right now, the AI is not going to send 1,800 to defend here, right? When we begin siege here, and we got to reassign our companions, they get stirred out of order, of course, when they get captured. We had all these units captured in that disastrous ocean battle. Get Andruta here. She's taking care of all of our wounds. I got an arrow in my testicle. My wife will take care of that for me. She pulls really hard. That's such a great line from Kingdom of Heaven. He's like, my lord, he's injured. He's like, I once fought a battle for 2 days with an arrow in my testicle, which I don't think is a thing, but it's a nice line for Hollywood. I think you very quickly get sepsis and die in a situation like that, or you're incapacitated with pain. You can't swing a weapon while there's a giant stick sticking out of your groin. You'd be in horrific agony. And this is gnarly. There's all kinds of oh shit. In fact, we got to break off here. There's tons of forces nearby. I thought they would come from the water, but it looks like the Nords... There's the king. The Nord King is right there. We're in trouble here. I thought the Nords would come from the ocean, but it looks like they were already here. Probably gathering up on land to go wreck our shit. So, okay. Well, the good thing is they're not already formed into an army. We might be able to fight these forces piecemeal and destroy them in detail. Especially since we're caffeinated. It's amazing how much better you play when you're caffeinated as opposed to drunk. Come on in. The water's warm. There's like 350 here, 400. We want to fight 400 or 500 at a time, not 1,300.
Do you have anything?
And this is perfect. 580 or 481. Just large enough that they're eager to fight us, and also just small enough so that we can destroy them with very few losses. And use these axes here. So in battles like this, DPS is more important than survival. I have 100% health. I'm going to survive. Now we still have no RTS mod because of course we're playing 1.4. It'll be a little while before the modders get these things updated. And just for reference of like where we are here, 1.4 released yesterday, right? So just to give you some perspective, like on what kind of a time lapse there is, I basically made a dozen episodes of this campaign before the beta was public, right? Which is sort of the nature of things, right? So even though I'm like, you guys can give me feedback on this, guys can give me feedback on that, I'm reading all of it like a week or two after I make the episode. Sometimes that's the nature of it, especially since by the time you guys are watching this episode, I will probably be somewhere in France with my wife. We're going to do a little travel, a little bit of homage to the European architecture, art, and history over there. And of course, the people and the food. Now, our army is not mature by any means, right? We've got some tier 3 and tier 2 units in here. This division, in fact, is very weak. But we have skirmishers. We have pretty good archers. Most importantly, we've got tactics. In fact, we have almost an entire division. That's our shock troop division. It's virtually all peasants. So we got to protect them a little bit. I got a bridge I can fall back to, right? So this is a good situation to do either a kill box or fall back to the bridge. We probably have enough troops here just to spread out in a big C formation in the center of this broad valley. This might be the most landscape favorable battleground in the entire game. There's like 3 or 4 different bridges, 5 or 6 different bridges, and so it gives you just enormous advantages over an AI that doesn't really understand how to use bridges, right? Of course, here they're attacking us, so we have the luxury of using the bridges. In other words, they have to cross the bridge to get to us, but I don't even think we need to use them. Maybe if there's another battle against 900, we'll use the bridge. Of course, we're going to have to fight multiple battles here. So this is kind of a disaster of war situation of our own making, right? A lot of people would just avoid this situation. For this campaign, we're going to play with our hair on fire. We're going to have tough battles by design because I'll put you to sleep otherwise. If we only fight battles where the enemy's outnumbered and we have huge advantages of strength or something like that, you guys will get sleepy in a hurry. So we're going to try some audacious shit, just like that ocean battle, right? I knew that was unlikely to be victory. We could have just ran from the outset. But what's the fun in that, right? We're playing a game here, and of course when you have a YouTube channel, it's almost always important to push the envelope, right? Because it keeps things frosty for the people watching. That means we're going to get captured sometimes. That's all right. We've been able to recover here, and this army's going to upgrade pretty quickly, right? We also still have troops. Don't forget, we have troops at Valvik. I do want to return to Valvik because I'm considering making an invasion into Nordland. It's possible we'll get more ocean battles in this campaign, but I want to get more open field battles against the Nords with the Sturgians, demonstrate some tactics, and I'd really like to get a Sturgian heavy line breaker army, right? Try to develop maybe 150 line breakers and see what kind of tactics we can do with those kind of forces, right? So we may actually invade Valandian territory with that kind of a force. That means we have to have some Sturgian possessions because we're not going to get line breakers by owning Valvik. So you know, we still have some plans for this campaign here, and a standard kill box here. I've got a Jav Cav division following me. Now their archers came up really aggressive. It's actually good AI. I think it's aberration. I don't think that's normal, but it's good because it's putting a lot of pressure on our troops, and these archers are going to spray our troops full of arrows. How I'm going to deal with it here is give them a couple big shield walls to shoot at while we malign them with Jav Cav. Our flanking skirmishers over there from this side should do really good work too. In fact, we can join them here and help them bowl through their archers. Now I'm kiting that other infantry division at the same time. You have to have tremendous capability to multitask to do what we're doing here. Effectively watching that giant infantry division while we're cutting these archers up. And I'm also making a great beef stew at the same time where I got high dexterity with my feet. My wife says it adds special flavoring to the beef stew. They're getting shot to get to death here, but they're little tiny bushwhackers and stuff. These are not elite Nord archers. And here it's kind of jumbled up just a little bit, but it looks good, right? And of course that division very soon is going to have no archer support because we just destroyed it. Hagar the Horrible is going to be coming in behind them. And they're also charging our little weak division. In a battle like this, sometimes you just throw a division at the enemy. My preference in a battle like this is to throw them a bunch of peasants. It's free. Right, we picked up a lot of those guys just a few minutes ago from these villages, right? So they're killing their own troops, ironically. I mean, they're Sturgians, but... And now we can send in the heavy hitters. Oh shit, speaking of heavy hitters. I gotta keep a decent amount of health here too, because we're almost certainly gonna have another battle. And this Nord force pulverized now. Archers behind him, tough infantry boring in on him, surrounding him. And so a little unorthodox use of our little bootlicker division there. We're gonna have a lot of recruits that were killed in this battle. That's alright, we'll go get more. Sometimes we're urgent to upgrade them. Here I'm not that concerned about it. Take a look to see how many. Yeah, we had 33 of them get injured. Only 10 died. That's actually good. 43 recruits, though, down the drain, right? Or at least down in that battle. That's fine. Some of them got upgrades. 10 deaths is actually really low. That's kind of surprisingly low. I do remember reading that, too, friends. More injuries in battles. Less dead, more injured. There's a whole bunch of things that came with the patch notes, and I've scanned them, but it's a little bit like memorizing 3 chapters of the Bible. It's an incredible amount of information. It's literally 15 pages, and it's this little bug fix, this little adjustment here, this little improved visibility for ships, this visibility of armies when they're in a forest is harder to see them. There's 100 different things that I'm not going to be able to remember unless I was just sitting here in a monotone voice reading the patch notes. You guys can read the patch notes. This playthrough is 3/4 to do a Sturgian playthrough to see how we can do with Sturgian tactics, especially with 1.4 with some of the balancing, and then 1/4 to sort of experience the differences in gameplay with 1.4. I was planning a Sturgian campaign anyways. This makes it even easier to decide that. So 380, they should attack. 260 versus 380 here. And I nailed it. Ulstacan, Spring 2. You know, sometimes I probably sound like a cocky asshole, but there is a rhythm to Bannerlord, and once you play it a little bit, you know, you get to understand it just like the seasons. When it's June, you wear some shorts and a tank top. Our companions are looking pretty good here. Our wife is looking pretty good. She's permanently pregnant. Poor gal. That always reminds me of one of the funniest pictures I ever saw. There was a minivan parked in a parking lot somewhere. It was kind of dirty, and it had, like, you know how they put the little stick figure kids in the corner of a window, and it was like 12 kids. It was like, you know, 6 older kids and 5 medium-sized kids and 3 toddlers and 2 babies, and the adults, you know, is basically, you know, it's how people sort of show you their family on the back of their minivan. And someone on the back of their window, their dirty window, had written, "Dude, get off of her." And I just thought that was fucking amazing, hilarious. All right, well, a little bit more banged up here, and so we need to be a little bit more tactically minded. I'm going to feed the enemy at least a division. I think both of those divisions. We need the skirmishers to do major damage here, but this 34 troops, you guys are here. Those who are about to die, we salute you, right? We're going to put them in a shield wall on the bridge here, facing away from the enemy. And what I'm trying to do, of course, is get the enemy to face away from us. We're going to kite back with archers here. Hopefully that does some decent damage on the kiting. I think for most players, I would just say position your archers where we are right now. The reason I'm going to kite is I'm hoping to inflict 50 or 100 losses to the enemy before we get to the bridge, right? Basically have that extra time to kite. But it's going to be a delicate process here, right? We've got a tiny amount of cavalry to play defense, and they at least have some cavalry to make it challenging. Kiting against cavalry is normally not advised, right? They have about 50% more cavalry than us. We're also going to get hit with throwing weapons, too. The Nords, they don't have great skirmishers. How come I can't hit anybody here? There we go. Drop their flag bearer, at least. The Nords don't have great skirmishers, but it seems like all of them have something they throw, right? So the collective damage is pretty good, and they're the only kingdom, I think, that has those tier 6 axes. So their throwing weapons do actually do pretty good damage, at least those tier 5 units that have those axes. The Schalberstier, the Zerker, the Shield, the tier 5 noble unit, etc. So a little delicate balance here, right? And they just flung a whole line of those little throwing swords, and they threw those at a long distance. That's further than I anticipated here. I'm trying to draw a little bit of fire so my troops don't get ripped apart here. And I don't think this is a good idea in retrospect. they've got so many shields that we're just basically firing at their shields, and their units are throwing javelins and mostly throwing axes and knives, but they're hitting targets that don't have a shield. So I'm not thrilled about my decision here. Sometimes you just gotta cut your losses and get the fuck out of Dodge. It's a good example of, you know, you live and learn. Sometimes you try something in Bannerlord, it's not gonna work. In fact, these archers are kind of moving slow. They're getting maligned by cavalry. I mean, we didn't get massacred in that exchange, but that was not a positive exchange. Worse than that, it's going to take 30 seconds for our archers to get upset, or to get set up here. They're probably upset, too. Well, let's get you guys there and there. I think we're going to have to do a kill box on the other side of the bridge here. I don't think we have enough infantry without sacrificing skirmishers to prevent the enemy pouring across here. We are going to be able to give them some fierce skirmisher fire here. This division behind me here has got a lot of ammo. There's like Britannian, Skipari and stuff like that in there. And some of our archers didn't even get out. Right? They got ran down here. Hold on tight, boys. Let's get this 5th and 6th pushed back. Get up that hill. This is also a very important job for you. If you got that 250 perk, I like to run with your infantry here. Don't target the soft targets. Target the guys with shields, especially those that are standing there holding up a shield. Kill those guys, because your skirmishers are hitting shields. Instead, you want them hitting Ulfenars. So target the shields. That's your job with 250, right? With the 250 throwing skill, because you melt every single elite, whatever it is, Huskarl, Shield Companion. These are tough troops, but they all insta-die to that perk. Keep going, boys. We're getting a really good javelin exchange here. I see all kinds of javelins still sticking out of the backpacks of these guys. So we're going to be able to do some good things here, but the first stage of this was messy. Back up. Let's get that 6th division towards the center. If I need to, I can square the 6th. Right? That's part of the reason I'm bringing them towards the center here. Dump their javelins and then square them, archers on both flanks. That's going to work almost every battle for you. Our sacrificial divisions got sacrificed. They didn't last very long either. It's a tough Nord force. The king is here, you know, so they got lots of high-end units. But they're taking the beating here now as they move in. Right? Keep on kiting. And this basic tactic here is just absolutely lethal to a Nord force. They can't close, and by the time they do close, they're pincushions. They're getting rapidly melted here. Archers are now on their flank. They just moved into a shield wall, which is understandable, but it's actually worse for them because it just means that we have even more time to shoot them to pieces. And now we can charge, right? These divisions are so weakened, maybe they'll take 5 or 10 guys with them. Archers can charge. That where crossbow can get in there if they're out of ammo. And there's nothing left for these Nords to do but die. This guy hit me for 4. Let's get shields facing their archers. Their archers are pulling up a defensive line there. I wish they would charge. Instead, we're going to have to move in on them. We're probably low on ammo. Got ourselves some javelins here from this dead guy. You don't need it. Thank you, sir. Right. Archers, skirmishers. I just position them across, right? Just send the whole line across. The line formation is fine here, too. A lot of guys, even I, used to shift to shield wall. I have just learned that line formation is fine, right? The shield wall is where you're getting pounded. If it's light fire like this, I think just a line formation is better because you move fast. And we're not getting mowed down, right? We're suffering a few losses. 2, 3. And we're going to suffer more as we get point blank. But once we reach them, this battle's way over. Can pick up the horse here. That'll help me cut them down even easier. And Halthar and these Nords get dealt a savage blow. And that's 900, right? Give or take Nords in 2 battles. And maybe we have 50 casualties. 100 casualties at an absolute most. And a heap of upgrades. And obviously our force is going to get better and better. And these Nords are cooked. Little fucker defending. I do think that the Nords probably have the best troops with 1.4. We haven't talked about that a lot, but every one of their tier 4 units got an armor upgrade for this patch. I covered that in some other episodes, but if I haven't talked about it much in this campaign, I'm gonna punch this guy to death. They got significant armor upgrades, right? A couple of the upgrades are major. I think it's the Shield Biter, which is the unit that upgrades to a Berserkier. Those guys got major armor upgrades. And so collectively now, the Nords probably have the best troops, you know, especially if you can just add some cavalry. I do feel unquestionably that that is the best Nord army, is 90%, 80% Nords, and then, well, 10% Fiend Champions, and 10%, maybe 15% cavalry. What kind of cavalry? Well, it's really to taste. I think they'd be just fine with heavy lancers and Khazate if you're in the east. But if you're in the west, I've got no problem with having 10% of their army just being banner knights and even the Battanian mounted skirmishers or something like that. Cavalry is so valuable in Bannerlord for certain situations, right? For clogging up the lanes if there's a ton of enemy cavalry coming in, or if you're fighting a lot of archers, right? If you're fighting Battania and they're doing that where they're kiting, it's very, very handy to have 50 or 100 cavalry just wreaking havoc and making them pay for that kiting. If you don't have units that are fast, you really get eaten up by archer forces. And of course, Khazate would be a nightmare to consistently fight large forces without cavalry. You can win. We've demonstrated wins on the channel, but if you have 80 or 100 cavalry, you will obliterate Khazate because you can use them to herd the Khazate to the center. You keep them towards your left. Of course, we've talked about that strategy a lot. I don't think we're going to mess around with those tactics too much in this campaign. And we're going to try to make our way out west, but I think there's a 0% chance we make it to Ulstacan. And I'm not too concerned about it, right? That's just Valandian territory. Anyways, we were just trying to spur some battle there. What I do want to do is I want to get to Havalvik. I want to get back to our troops. Valvik, we've got maybe 500 troops up there. We're going to cause more hate and discontent in this campaign. And then we're going to head, I think, to Nordlands, right? Either to Nordlands or maybe we'll take Revel or something like that so we have more of a Sturgian tasting army. If we're at Revel, too, there's a good chance for shipboard battles because the city's kind of isolated on that peninsula. And that should spur some good action here towards the end of this campaign. Of course, I've been trying to intimate all along here that this campaign, we weren't going to play this to any kind of completion. This is an exploration of 1.4, and so maybe, you know, 5, at most 10 more episodes. Make a very powerful Sturgian force, see what we can't do with 125, 150 line breakers and wreck shop. I still think they're inferior to at least two or three other shock troop units. I would for sure prefer a Skjaldbrestyr. I think I would prefer a veteran Falksman. Actually, I know I would prefer a veteran Falksman. What other, an elite Manavliaton? No question. I would prefer them over the Sturgian line breakers. But maybe, you know, they're better than the Palace Guards now. Although the Palace Guards have maces too, right? They're going to be knocking units off their horses. What else is there? You know, they're really, if you were making a shock list today, in other words, if you were trying to build an elite force and had to have shock troops, I'm not sure the line breakers would be in the top 5, right? So we're getting negative relations. Good, right? The middle finger to everybody here. And this campaign rolls on. We'll probably save you a little time here. Sail to Havalvik, concentrate our armies, and continue. I'm just going to keep on playing. If you want to see more, of course, subscribe, hit that like button, friends, and I will see you next time.